make good use of the chat function to share ideas and to keep the conversation going. Brandy, anything you want to add before we kind of jump into things?
No, I think just, yeah, everybody get excited and let's brainstorm together.
Okay, so the first...
Heather, before we start, a quick question in the chat. They're asking if we can record this.
Yes, and I've actually
you just clicked it. Perfect.
Recording. So yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so here you see on the screen, this is our central question. How might we engage Alexandrians in supporting the arts this fall? And I'm sure already different ideas are coming to mind for you. And so we want to give everybody, and I'm getting my timer out with my phone, we're going to give everybody 2 minutes. So hopefully you have a piece of paper and a pen handy, or your computer, you can type your notes or what have you, but everybody will have 2 minutes to brainstorm as many ideas as you can in response to this question. How might we engage Alexandrians in supporting the arts? And I'm starting the timer now. And Brenda, we should have thought about having some brainstorming music. But, so we'll just have a few minutes of silence as people are jotting their ideas down. Okay, this is the 1 minute warning. You have 1 minute left. Okay, 20 seconds. So any final ideas you want to get on paper? Okay, that's it. That was 2 minutes. That went by pretty fast, huh? Great. Okay, so keep your ideas handy, because now we are, in just a second, going to break up into groups of 3. And so in your small groups, you'll have 10 minutes, so it's not a lot of time. So you won't be able to provide, a treatise to your colleagues about what your ideas are, but you'll want to each share your ideas. And the goal is for your trio to come up with your top 2, the 2 that you want to bring forward to the whole group. My sense is that there's probably going to be some overlap. You're going to see where you have some common ideas, or you might kind of merge 2 ideas into one. But you need to come back to the full group with 2 ideas and 1 sentence, just 1 sentence about that idea. Any questions about the task? So you might want to identify somebody to be your note taker or what have you, the person who's going to report out. But Brandy, are you ready to break people up into groups of 3?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to open the rooms. Let's see if this works. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'll turn it back over to Heather.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully you got a lot of ideas on paper. Was it hard or easy to come up with your top 2? Pretty easy?
Easy.
Good, good, great. Okay, so now we're going to do some sorting and clustering, and maybe we'll call on each group one at a time to share their 2 ideas and their sentence. And Brandy's going to capture notes too about each of the ideas, but I am going to use the whiteboard. I don't know if folks have used the Zoom whiteboard before. Hopefully everybody can see that. And I'm just gonna capture the ideas as folks are sharing, and then we have a tool that we're gonna use to sort the ideas. So let's start with group 1. Does anybody, I don't know if people know what their group numbers were, and if anybody knows they were in group 1, can you share what your 2 ideas are?
Yeah, I think we were in group 1. And the first one was to hold a fundraiser similar to Spring to Action, although it would not be a competitive, it would be more of a collaborative way to raise funds collectively. And Allison and Joan, if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me. The second idea would be to maybe on the same day, because we talked about just having a day. Even the mayor could make a Arts in Alexandria day. So that would be the day of the fundraising event at the same time, to also not just raise funds, but get the word out about what we do, to have nonprofits partner with businesses, specifically local businesses, and maybe have them support each other. Like, for example, you know, everything you buy today at this store, 10% goes to this nonprofit, the partnership kind of thing. And I guess this is technically 3 ideas. And also to find a space, a large space where there could be different artists performing at different times, places where families could visit. It could be, you know, maybe virtual if that doesn't work, but just a pop-up performance place so people can be aware of the arts and all the artists who contribute to our community. So it's more than just fundraising. Is there anything else, you guys, I need to add, or anything I didn't say right?
Well, I think the second idea about the pop-up performance place was the idea of creating a space in Alexandria that, let's say once a week, there would be a performance at this park or at this churchyard or whatever large space can be available. And you don't necessarily advertise that people are going to be there, the artists, the visual artists, or the musicians, but you know that your family can go on Thursday at 6 o'clock to this place, and there will be something for you to enjoy that's family friendly.
Great. Great. Thank you, group 1. Great ideas. And we'll give you a little, I guess, leeway that you have 3 ideas here. But we really want to try and keep it to 2 from each group. Okay. Group 2. Does anybody remember if they were in group 2?
I'm in group 2.
Okay.
Okay. And actually that last one, that's our exact idea for one of our ideas. So
Okay,
the other one was to do, to make clips of the various organizations. You make a clip that has a little bit of a performance and a little bit of talking to individuals in there. And somehow we string them together and have a few at a sitting. So it's like 30 minutes, but it would be 3 or 4 different organizations. Either that, or, I mean, there was also the possibility of taking it on yourself and just doing it yourself. But it seemed to me it would have more impact if you did it as the group, as an ACT event.
So just so I'm understanding, so it's an online event?
An online event where you do clips of performances coupled with some people talking about the organization, saying how much they like it, why it's meaningful to them. But you do more than one at a time. You put them together.
Okay, great. Great, thank you, Anne. Okay, group 3.
Hi, everyone. We're group 3, Veronica and Cheryl Ann and Bill here. We had 2 ideas. The first is a collaborative multi-organization online silent auction run by ACT. Alexandria Singers' silent auction plans for 2021 have essentially been scuttled because donors whom we have solicited have said that they're financially strapped. However, we could get 3 or 4 major gift donors, and if 50 arts organizations or 50 ACT organizations, nonprofit organizations, all got 3 or 4 amazing donations, it could be a whoppingly successful collaborative online auction, and then the proceeds would be equitably shared, would be shared proportionate to the number of actors in the enterprise, so that there's no ownership of the donation. For example, if the Choral Society gets a trip to the Bahamas and so forth, they don't get just the proceeds for the trip to the Bahamas, it's split, so everybody's encouraged to participate. And the second, so that's a collaborative online silent auction run by ACT. And the second is very similar to the pop-up performance topic that's been thought of before, but with multiple venues in the city, so that there are things going on all the time. And we even combined the two and said if it were desirable and the online app for auction donations, they could be held concurrently, so that people are seeing the live performances, they're contributing if they wish to just contribute directly to that function, and also making, not to make it confusing, but we could have the 2 activities together. By the way, the Art on the Avenue pivoting has been to an online event of some sort, as far as performances online, which I also heard discussed, an online event featuring many performances.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Great ideas. Okay, that was group 3. Group 4.
I believe that's us, Derry and Mindy and myself. Our 2 ideas are connected. The first, starting with one giving fund that is overseen by ACT, and then, as many people have said, given out. So not doing a non-competitive fundraiser that ACT oversees. And then as part of that, producing almost like an online gala type experience where every organization who wants to participate can show what they do, and then having a facilitator or a host throughout. And the goals of that would be to showing people which organizations are here and what they're doing, what they've continued to do, a call to action to give, and that would be like a text giving, way to give through text, and then engaging with the viewers to connect with what art means to them, how it has sustained them during these hard times, and then that next step, what do they want to see when this is all over? What do they want to see here still in our community?
Right. And Kylie, the idea of the Arts Fund, I just want to make sure I'm understanding that. So are you saying it's a fundraiser or it's a pooled fund?
Well, so giving to a fundraiser, and then whether or not that is a fund that continues to accept donations after, I'm not sure. But definitely a fundraiser that goes to ACT, and then ACT either grants that out, or, as others have mentioned, divvies it up evenly, whichever way makes the most sense.
Okay, got it. So it looks like I can't edit that, but when we see Arts Fund, that's the idea you were talking about.
Thanks.
Okay.
Can I add one quick thing to what Kylie was saying? We wanted to emphasize, we wanted it to be a lot of art and expression and creativity to give the community what is so important about art in the area, and have people reflect on why art is important in Alexandria, but at the same time do fundraising. What popped in my mind is something like Save the Whales, Save the Art, or Save the Arts in Alexandria, because we are looking to save the art organizations in this pandemic. So it could be like a soft sale, but a hard-hitting title.
Great. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Derry.
Sure.
Okay, and that was group 4. So I think we're up to group 5.
That's our group, I think, was Sarah, Molly, and myself. We actually had a similar idea about an arts fund where there would be a fundraiser where all the money would be pooled into one fund and disseminated out as well. And then we also had an idea about getting a networking event together where we would be able to have artists as well as community members and maybe potentially funders. So that, again, we could talk about our organizations and be able to just kind of build community relationships, build relationships between these different groups within the community.
Excellent. Okay. All right, so here are the ideas that we have. So an online giving day that is non-competitive.
Sorry, Heather, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes,
I think you wanted to call on Charlotte to see if she.
Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you. And Charlotte, so just to give background for everybody, Brandy and I had a conversation with Charlotte Hall and Amy Rutherford earlier this week, representing the Boutique District and the Old Town Business District, about some ideas for how we might involve local businesses in supporting the arts. So Charlotte, do you want to share the ideas that we talked about?
Yes, I'd be delighted to. So I am here, as Heather and Brandy have said, representing the Old Town Business Association and the Old Town Boutique District. And I just wanted to offer a couple of friendly reminders and suggestions to everyone. Many, many years ago, you may remember that the Old Town Business Association hosted second Thursdays, and that was Thursday evenings. We would have art galleries open, restaurants offered hors d'oeuvres in the art galleries and the Torpedo Factory, and we had some live entertainment on the streets. So that is no longer being done, and it has not been done for, gosh, probably 8 years now. So if that is something that interests you, we, the business community, would be delighted to partner with you all in doing something like a second Thursdays. Very similar to what Del Rey does, but again, we'd be very happy to host that with you all, the arts organizations. And I can get the restaurants to help with some food if need be. But I think it's a great opportunity for you all to be performing. Many of our businesses have patios and courtyards where we could do some entertainment. And I'm not sure if you all know, but we had a very successful sidewalk sale this year with 64 participating retailers. Very successful. It's the largest number of retailers we've ever had present. And so keep that in mind. That is something we'd like to do. Friendly reminders, we've done things in the past at King Street Gardens Park and Totem Park on Upper King Street. So while my heart is on the waterfront, as many of you know, we are more than delighted to, and we're encouraging people to do more things to bring life and activity to Upper King Street. So we would welcome joint ventures with you all at Totem Park and King Street Gardens Park. And I will remind you, there are many other venues that we can consider, such as a parking lot across the street from Misha's. I have ways to get us, we've already done something there once, and we've got other opportunities there. So again, we want to be creative. We want to work with you all. We would be honored to work with you all. And somebody already mentioned a networking event, a happy hour networking event. I am happy to get a restaurant to host a happy hour networking event with discounted rates. So just let me know. We can provide the restaurant space for free, and just a place for you all to congregate and do your happy hour. One of the things we have talked about is various types of live entertainment on street corners and in some of these courtyards and patios. We would love for it to be from Alexandria organizations. We've even talked about a mariachi band dancing down King Street, from the rails from the metro station down to the river, or it can be the other way, going uphill. So again, we're very open-minded. We'd very much like to work with you all. Thank you, Heather and Brandy.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Charlotte. So I just captured your idea generally as we'll just call it second Thursday for now, but it's that idea of a day or an evening when arts organizations are partnering with local businesses. And I saw in the chat box there are a few questions about some of the logistics. How would that relationship between the businesses and the artists work out? And also, I know there's questions probably about safety that folks have with any of the in-person kinds of ideas. And so I'd say for now, let's just keep those questions about logistics on hold. We're going to have an opportunity to flesh out some of the logistics when we break up into 2 groups again. But for now, just I think I just want people to think about the concept as we're going to be doing the sorting. And so we're going to be doing the sorting based on 2 dimensions. So one dimension is, let's see, we're calling level of impact. Looking at my notes here. And then the other dimension is, I don't know if folks can see that on their screen over on the side here. This other dimension is level of effort. So let's put, so it's high impact is here at the top. And then we have low impact here. And then we have low effort here. And then high effort here. Okay. So the way this is going to work is based on these dimensions, level of impact. So when we're thinking about impact, I want you to think about things that would define success for the idea. So it could be the money raised, the attention brought to the arts community or specific arts organizations, that sort of thing. For level of effort, that's where I want you to think about what would it actually take to produce a successful event. So, you know, adhering to the safety guidelines in this COVID environment, or the amount of coordination that would be required, you know, by ACT or individual arts organizations who are participating. So those are the 2 general dimensions that we want to think about. And as a group, we want to place these ideas on the grid, with the idea being that hopefully we'll identify a couple of ideas that are high impact in this upper right-hand quadrant and low level of effort. So where can we get the most bang for our buck, so to speak, from any of these ideas? And so as a group, you know, we probably won't have consensus about all of the ideas and where they belong on the grid, but this will just give us kind of a relative understanding of what's possible. And then after we go through this exercise, you'll have a chance to provide your specific opinion in the poll in terms of the top idea that we should move forward with. So any questions about how this works?
Quick question.
Yes.
It might be helpful from the person who originated the idea or team, whether they had in mind in person or virtual or a combination.
Great. And I'll try to note that if possible. Thank you, Derry. Great suggestion. Okay, so as a group, this online giving day, this non-competitive online giving day, where do we think that fits in terms of level impact? Is that high, low, medium? What do folks think?
I think I need a little bit of clarification on whose effort, like the effort on the individual organizations, the effort on ACT, because those are 2 very different things, I think.
I think it's both. So I think of it as our collective effort to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. But let's start first with level of impact. For a giving day, what is your sense in terms of what kind of impact could that have, both financially and in terms of awareness for arts? Go ahead.
I would submit that a vanilla online giving day is not as high an impact if it isn't connected with other activity. And also people are becoming very donation tired. And so unless it's tied to something, I think that actually it's medium to low impact as just as a standalone activity.
Okay, so maybe right around here in this
That would
area?
be great, yeah.
Okay.
I also think, just to add on to that, I think that given how many arts organizations we have in Alexandria, it also we would have to raise a lot of money if we're going to be divvying it up equally for it to have a big impact for each individual arts organization.
Correct.
Okay. And
How
then
many organizations are there? Like, how many are we talking about? 20 to 30?
Oh God, no, no, hundreds.
There's a lot more than that, but how many might participate is a question. I mean, we have about 25 organizations, but we have individual artists that are a very large number.
And then what do folks think about in terms of level of effort? Is this a high, I should say, high intensity kind of activity, or would this be something relatively easy?
It's high intensity. It's very high intensity.
So you would put it maybe somewhere over here.
Yeah, for the amount that we get out for organization, it requires a month of planning. It's a lot.
Okay, all right. So I know there's a few other ideas that are in the way here. I'll just move those out of the way. Okay, all right. So this next idea, the Arts Day and business partnerships, that sounds something similar to what Charlotte was talking about. So we might maybe combine the second Thursday and this Arts Day kind of business partnership together. But what do folks think in terms of level of impact for something like that?
Hi, I have a question. It's maybe a question I didn't understand going in. When we say we want to promote the arts in Alexandria, are we talking about our visibility or fundraising, or both?
Because I think both. And I think both. And when we break up into the two groups to flesh out the ideas, we'll have an opportunity to further define what we think those success factors are going to be. So right now we're just really talking, I think, in generalities, but we definitely want to drive resources to arts organizations and I think raise awareness.
Okay, because just fundraising and resources would be a different set of activities than raising awareness. So I'm a little confused on how to decide what the level of effort of something is and what the impact is, because I'm not sure if we're trying to raise awareness or raise funds, but that's just me being confused. So I'll just sit back and watch be part of the process.
I think that's a good question, Jane. And I think when we were having conversations with the Office of the Arts and the Alliance and the Commission, I think the primary interest is in financial resources, raising money, right? I think raising the awareness of the arts organizations and the need for supporting the arts was secondary. But I think raising money is primary. I don't know if anybody would disagree with that, but I think that's what we had discussed initially. So I don't know if that helps kind of with in terms of thinking about level of impact. Okay.
Do you have a sense for like when the level of fundraising revenue is going to be significant for arts organizations to raise an eyebrow and say this is something that would really help? Like 100,000, 500,000, million?
$10. It depends on how many goes to each organization. So I mean, if you're trying to raise across the board for all of Alexandria, you'd be looking into six figures if you're going to split it across multiple organizations. I mean, you might raise $100,000, you might end up giving less than $5 to each organization. And whether or not that will be equitable and how it's distributed, or if it's a grant process, I mean, that's the other question of it. But yeah, we're going to have to be in the six figures to make any kind of impact.
I have to sign off shortly. I have to leave to open the Athenaeum, but I just wanted to say that anything that we can do that gets people out and off the virtual will, I think, be a benefit to everybody. I think people are just dying to get out and do something. And if we could combine that with a fundraiser in a clever kind of way, we may be able to get the level of impact significantly higher than trying to have another online fundraiser.
Awesome, great. Thank you, Veronica. So we'll keep that in mind. So it sounds like this Arts Day business partnership would be an offline in-person event. And similar to the second Thursday, some sort of partnership where there could be multiple performances going on throughout the day, organizations partnered with specific businesses. We'd have to kind of think through kind of what that means, partnership. But where do folks feel like that would align in terms of level of impact?
I put this in the chat, but I think it would be very low impact financially.
Okay.
So do I, and I think it really depends on when it would get off the ground, because we're talking about events where people come to outdoors versus indoors right now. We know indoor events are going to be more risky than outdoor, and the weather is going to really determine how we can do these things once the weather turns cold.
And would you say the level of impact is lower than the online giving day? Okay. And then what about the level of effort? How hard or easy do you think this would be to pull off?
Getting the buy-in from the businesses, I think, is the harder part of it, honestly, because times we've tried to partner with businesses, we get very little response.
But then again, Charlotte just made a case for all businesses right here in person to say she's motivated and she's got other owners that are motivated. So that's a pretty good testimonial.
So from a performer standpoint, anything that includes outdoor performances or even indoor performances, most organizations have already dedicated a lot of resources and time to pivoting toward virtual events. So this is an add-on to an already really full programming thing. So it's, in fact, in our organization, it would be high effort
Also,
to add on to existing programming.
And in-person events are going to be riskier for our players. And honestly, you know, we have to pay our players every time they come out, and just to get people to come out for a trio and so forth, you know, that's the question. Are they going to be paid?
Okay.
I mean, that's the other part of it.
Right. So would you say it's more effort than the giving day or less effort? About the same?
About the same.
About the same. Okay. So we'll put it over here. All right. What about the central pop-up performance? So this would be my understanding, this would be a live in-person event. Where do we think this would fit in terms of level of impact?
Well, I'm going to speak to that since I was the one that brought it up. But what made me think of it is I used to be involved in Reston Center. Reston Town Center had every Thursday night, they had a free concert in a plaza surrounded by restaurants. The restaurants actually put the money in for the performance. Maybe the city did too, I don't know. But people came out and they had dinner at the restaurants, they bought drinks. The same thing is true of Jazz in the Garden in DC, which we've been part of. But you have to provide a concert. You can't provide the musicians walking down the street or being background while people are chatting. You have to have the arts as a focus in these things, and then have people imbibing or eating or whatever they're doing for the purpose of watching what's going on.
Okay. So some sort of like stage or central platform for the performances and the artists.
It could be any space the important thing is that it is absolutely the same time and same place every week, so that people are not so concerned about curating the performance as they are putting it on their schedule and saying, God, it's Thursday night, let's go see this. I don't know what's there, but you know it's going to be good. So they go out.
Okay. So what are folks thinking?
Could I just add, would there be interest? As many of you know, the city and I have coordinated the closure of the 100 block of King Street, closure to cars. This is going to happen through December 31st. And as you know, we've got outdoor dining and we have plans for the winter. We're working on our plans for the winter. Would the 100 block, again, don't discuss logistics, please, but would the 100 block be of interest to you, the artist?
Well, I've only been down there once, and it was pretty crowded and it was pretty unmasked. But I think if you had in place some kind of situation where the artists felt safe and they had them so they could be distanced. I mean, the artists that I know that are performing live find that in situations where there's alcohol consumed, that very soon it devolves into an unsafe space. The musicians go in and they play what they need to play and then they leave. So, I mean, that's a possibility. Okay. As long as you say, the other things are taken care of.
So I I want to keep us moving. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is part of the nature of these kinds of exercises, and it's even harder when we're kind of remote and I can't see everybody. But like, let's not get into like actually trying to design the event. We're just really here at a conceptual level and using this as a way to help us sort through all of these ideas, to get a sense and to build consensus on what we think is going to have the highest level of impact, but not be like the most taxing thing that we could collectively do. And so we do want to have time for us to think about how we would make that idea work, but we only want to put that energy into the top ideas that we agree to as a group. So I'm going to redirect us. Okay, Kylie, share your thought, and then I'm going to redirect us to focus on.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there a way that we can have like a bucket of good ideas that just aren't feasible right now? Because I don't want to lose some of these great ideas, but it's just not realistic. We all need money now.
Right.
Like, exactly. Like, they're not going to be impactful if we're not talking about logistics, because we're not going to get people there. So unfortunately, in a pandemic, it's a really big deal to talk about logistics. And I know we don't have the time right now, but we can't keep dismissing that that's not important. So we should look at like what could happen right now in a pandemic.
Well, right. So I think as you're thinking about level of effort, launching or implementing this idea in the pandemic context is what you would need to be thinking about in terms of managing kind of the safety issues.
And that's on the high effort side, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Low attendees, high effort. Yeah.
So with the central pop-up performance idea, what do we think in terms of impact? Is this going to generate the resources and the attention that we think we want? I'm seeing
not financially, maybe visibility and high on the effort side.
Okay, so is it the level of impact, is it on par with the Giving Day or the Arts Business Day, or even lower than those two?
Lower.
Lower.
Okay. And then where do you think that fits in terms of level of effort? Is it about the same as those two ideas, or is it?
It's high because of the logistical side.
Higher than the Arts Day and the Online Giving Day? Okay, so it might be somewhere over here. Okay, great. I'm just gonna move this networking event idea. Okay. All right, so this online event featuring performances and spokespeople, and I'm assuming this was intended to be a fundraising event, an online fundraising event. So where do we think that this would fit in terms of impact?
I think high impact because of global geographic reach, because it's online, and high impact because it's varied interests being attracted. I think it's very high impact. Anything online right now, if done properly, is very high impact.
Great. So we'll put it somewhere up in this area. And then what do we think in terms of level of effort?
Depends on what's required of each group. If you're only talking about a short clip, it's probably low effort.
I agree.
So how would you rate it relative to the Online Giving Day? So a lot easier?
A lot less. Yeah.
So over in this area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, this collaborative silent auction. Oops, where do folks feel like that would fit?
I guess my question on that is who's organizing it? Because I find that if everyone contributes something, fine, but somebody's going to have to figure out how to price things and how to, I mean, that's the high effort part. And the question is who would be doing that?
So since it was my suggestion, my thinking is that the organization that solicits the donation would set the price point for it, but it would be a platform that is administered by ACT. So donations are solicited by a given organization. They get 3 or 4, they price it, they turn it over to ACT, who includes it among multiple items to be auctioned off.
So the question is, for ACT, would you have the resources and time to organize something like that?
Online platforms are very simple to manage, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I don't want to get into like all the logistics and the planning, but it's not just the event itself; it's the promotion, and so the work that would go into it is, I don't want to say is unsubstantial. It's not just creating subscribing to an online platform to make this happen. It really would require some effort in terms of organizations, identifying items, notifying your stakeholders and your supporters, and encouraging people to participate. But let's start with level of impact. Where do we think this fits? Is it on par with the online performance or less impact?
I'd put it in the middle because it really depends on the items. It could be great or it could be a bomb. It really depends on the participation.
Okay. And then where do you think it is in terms of level of effort? More or less than the online performances?
I think it's less. I think it's on a par with.
So maybe over in this area? Do folks agree with that?
I mean, I think it's more personally, but that's just because I don't know where I would ask for a donation and it's easy for me to put together a performance. I think it just depends probably on what your situation is.
So I'll move it over a little bit here. Okay, great. All right, Arts Fund. So this would be a centralized fundraising activity that would generate a fund that would distribute money to arts organizations. So was there a question or a comment?
Well, I was just going to add that that's kind of nested in some of these other ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that it's a standalone. I see that working in conjunction with the online and the silent.
Unless it were a direct grant given by ACT, it could be.
Right. Yes. Thank you. So
I do think though that the way that ACT did it for the fund for all the essential services, and then there was like chats along the way where you were meeting the places where the money went. Like I think there's something where ACT can really lift up and elevate the arts and reach people that some of us don't reach by highlighting artists and showing performance or a session, or maybe there's like a live session of something and then there's a question and answer along with the fund. So you're also educating, because I think educating about the arts is, for me, equally important to getting money, because you're going to keep asking the same people unless you're educating a new pot of people about the importance of the arts.
Okay. So
unless there's value received, either in the form of a silent auction item gained or a performance that you've enjoyed, simply having another spring to action type arts fundraising thing has very low impact in my view.
I don't think this is an online fundraiser. This is a fund that ACT would actually give out as grants. So obviously the money would have to be raised somehow.
Right, through all these other initiatives, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it's not an activity.
Okay, so we'll put it in the parking lot over here. Okay. All right, there's one idea for a multiple venue pop-up. Do we think this is on par with the central pop-up performance idea? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. Over there. Let's see, we had the networking event. Where does that go? What do folks think about that idea? I wasn't sure if there was a fundraising component to it.
And I think if it's an in-person event, all of those in-person events have to go in that same spot. They don't have to, but that's my opinion.
Okay, somewhere over here. Okay, then there was the second Thursday idea, and I think that's kind of on par with this Arts Day, and then the online gala with multiple performances. What do people think about that?
That really dovetails with the other thing. I think that's really close. I think the question is whether or not how formal it is or how, but I think those two ideas are very close to each other.
Do folks agree with that? Kind of right next to each other?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking at our map, and it looks like we're kind of coalescing in terms of ease of implementation or level of effort and level of impact. Some sort of online fundraising event featuring multiple performances and spokespeople. It could verge into more of a formal type of event, making it more like a gala. And then there was this idea of a collaborative silent auction that's also kind of in this general category. It sounds like just in general too, any of the live in-person kinds of activities are concerns around kind of the logistics in a COVID environment, make them a little bit challenging. And then in terms of the online giving day, taxing on the individual arts organizations. Okay, so Brandy, I think we are going to move to the poll, where we'll give everybody a chance to weigh in now that we've had this conversation. And I think when you're ready, you can launch the poll.
Hold on a second before you do that.
Mhm.
So the arts fund is necessary, I'm just going to say, because with all these different organizations trying to fundraise together, we have to have somewhere that people are giving collectively. So that component has to be there in anything we do as a group.
So so the arts fund would be more of like a infrastructure kind of element. It's necessary for the online performances or the online gala or the collaborative silent auction, or even if there was an arts day, it would be something that would be integrated into all of them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So I think I've captured everything with the combination. So I'm going to launch the poll. And so you'll have a chance right now to vote of the ideas discussed today, which is your top choice. So just select one.
Brandy, just to confirm, the online event is the gala idea too, correct?
Yes, sorry. Yes, I forgot to write that word. Correct. Okay, so far I have, let's see, 11, 12 people who have responded. So I know maybe you're still thinking, but I'll give you like 20 more seconds to make your decision. And maybe some people aren't voting. I know that Heather and I are not voting. Okay. 5 seconds to enter your vote. Looks like we have 12, 13 people who have responded. I'm going to end the poll and I will share the results so that hopefully, can you see this on your screens? Okay, it looks like 3 people selected online giving day, 9 people this online event or gala featuring performances and spokespeople, and then we have 1 person on the second Thursdays and arts and business partnerships. So Heather?
Great. So I think given the overwhelming focus or preference, I should say, for the online event featuring performances and spokespeople / gala, I think that's the idea that we should focus on. And my suggestion, Brandy, is that we break up into 2 groups.
Okay.
And then, Brandy, did you create the worksheet or?
No, but I have it on the slides. So. Okay.
But when we go into the small groups, people won't see the slide.
Oh, except for I can put it in the chat.
Okay, great. All right, so let me stop sharing. I'm going to save the whiteboard. So we have all those notes. All those good ideas are not lost. I'm going to stop sharing. And Brandy, go to you.
Okay, so can people see PowerPoint on this right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, let me just open this up. Thanks for bearing with us with our technical difficulties. Current slide, oops, next one. Okay, so now we're gonna take an opportunity to what we call upgrade the idea. And so you're gonna be split into 2 groups and you're gonna ask the following questions or answer the following questions related to the idea of hosting an online gala or event featuring multiple people and performances. So you're going to define, what does success look like for this idea? When is the timing? When does this happen? What are the expectations of all the participating stakeholders? And what is really needed to make this idea a reality, whether that's money, technology, time, and then think about who should be a partner in this idea. And we want you to be as specific as possible. So I am going to attempt to break us into rooms again. Let's see, we're going to assign you into 2 rooms. Recreate rooms. Okay, so I'm just gonna start putting you in. Okay, so I'm going to send you all to your rooms and you'll have, I think, like maybe 10 minutes to kind of go through some of these questions. So you should get an invitation right now to go to your room, and then I'm going to put these questions in the chat so that you'll see all of them. And we'll see you back in a few minutes. All right. Okay. And now I got to put these questions in. All right.
I was going to say, if you want to stick me and Cheryl Ann in a separate room, feel free. But we thought that given that they're talking about logistics and needs, we didn't want to get in the way of them speaking freely and being as specific as they needed to be. So.
Yeah, I was in one of the groups earlier, and I think it would have been better if I was not in that group, because they kind of threw questions at me, meaning the cities. So I'm okay with not being in a group this time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep, but I do think we can have a conversation offline, Heather and Brandy, about how the Office of the Arts can support whatever kind of comes out of some of this, because I do think there's some things we can help with for sure. So I think that would be a better role for us to be in.
All right, so it's not letting me cut and paste. So while you're talking, I'm just going to send these questions.
And did you want me to put them in the chat too?
I don't know if they can be seen by everybody, can it? I think it can only be seen by the people right now.
Oh, okay, right.
Do you have a timer, Heather?
Yep. So when we come back, Brandy, to the full group, we're really only going to have like 5 minutes before the end of the time. And Brandy, can you add a note asking people to save their notes from their conversation?
Mm-hmm. Limits how much you can type in the broadcast.
Yeah.
They're probably like, stop sending me messages.
The sorting and the and placing things on the chart, it's hard. Because I can't see everybody, so it's hard to see like who wants to talk, or I don't know.
This is the challenge of trying to do things that are interactive on a virtual space.
I know. I mean, I think the group is the right size. I think if we had more people, it would be even more difficult.
We'll have to figure out, because there are times on this where maybe Leanne can edit out, because it's recording right now, like all the times that are being recorded.
Thank you for that reminder.
Yes. But I think it was helpful that people, like, we got to one that was pretty, like, people had consensus around one. So I think that will help with the ideas and making it a reality. Like, it'll be nice. There's 2 different group perspectives on what it could look like. I've actually talked to Regis, since he works for the Kennedy Center.
Oh, yeah.
He said he would be potentially interested in helping us with the videography. So if we were to combine all this, because that's what he does for Kennedy Center, is like online streaming. So if there's a way that, you know, if we have all these little vignettes that are kind of put together, like he could really edit and turn it into something.
That's good.
All right, just let me know when we have 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, 5 minutes. There's 3 minutes left, Brandy.
Tell me when it's 2 minutes, and then I'll tell people. Sounded like Derry had some good suggestions as well, or resources that we could.
So when everybody comes back, I'm just trying to think like how we want to conclude, because we won't really have time for report out. And so maybe we'll just ask if there's just one takeaway that folks want to share. It's a 2-minute warning.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. You want to do that?
One takeaway from each group. Okay.
And then I'll take notes on that and have people send me the notes.
Okay.
And I think we can offer, if people want to continue this conversation, because we know as we are planning, like we'd love to get.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever idea comes out of this is going to need to have a committee that's going to work on executing. So there's still lots of opportunities for fleshing it out. Okay, it's 1 minute.
Okay, so tell me when that minute's up and then I'll close the room. Or should I just close the room now?
It gives them 60 seconds, right, to jump out, or?
Yeah, I'll close it now and then they 60 seconds. Welcome back. That probably felt like really fast, or maybe it felt really long. I don't know.
So Brandy, I know a few people had to sign off early, so this might be everybody.
Oh, I think there's still a group that still has to come back.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They're waiting until the last minute.
Yeah.
All right, looks like people are coming back.
We were somewhat unproductive in answering the specific questions.
That's okay. Great. Well, welcome back, everybody. And I know, again, this has been really fast-paced, and obviously the goal was not to have a roadmap that's going to move us forward. The goal was to get consensus on the idea, and there's still going to be a lot of work to do to flesh out the ideas that we've generated today. So we just have literally 5 minutes remaining, and so we don't really have time to do like full report outs to hear from each group, but if each group could just maybe identify a spokesperson who could just share one takeaway from the conversation that you had. And then I will say, if you did take notes from your small group conversation, do not delete them. Please send them to Brandy so that we can compile those and share back out with everybody. So save your notes and send them in to us. If you just want to take a photo of your handwritten notes, that is fine. We're happy to take whatever format is easiest for you. So, okay, so for group one, do you want to, is there somebody who wants to be the designated spokesperson to share?
Anne? I guess I will. I mean, I just have very few notes. One little line that says what's the expected of the participants is, well, obviously content and your email list and the marketing plan for your people.
Great. Great. Thank you, Anne.
That's all. Okay. We talked about YouTube, though. It sounded interesting, but.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Good. So I know there's lots of production potential possibilities for doing an online event. So that's great. Yeah. Okay, group 2, was there a specific takeaway that you want to share back with the full group?
Yes, we felt this was actually a great opportunity partnership for the business community. It could be an opportunity to maybe have business sponsors or restaurants that might want to do to-go bags for some type of give back for that night, or wine, you know, get your food and come home and listen to it on a Saturday night. But we agree on the expectations. Content is really where it's going to be coming from individual organizations. Resources would be great if we had some kind of point person or curator, so that if organizations weren't sure what to submit. And video editing. Our organization, the Symphony, actually had an actual professional editor. It was very valuable. It was worth the money to bring everything together and make it look professional and cohesive.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you for that update, or for that overview of some of the key things that we need to take into consideration. So good. So hopefully I know this session again felt really fast paced, and I know we didn't have really enough time to get into all the ideas, but I think we all came away with some consensus about where we want to put our energies going forward. And so Brandy, do you want to share just your thoughts about next steps and where we go from here?
Sure. So if whoever took notes, or if you had ideas that you wanted to make sure that were incorporated, please send those to me. I put my email, hopefully you all know my email by now, is in the chat. And then moving forward, we're going to need help implementing this idea. So if you are interested in being part of a committee that kind of talks through all of these things and helps with the planning, we would love to engage you in that. Because we want to make sure that we're incorporating all of the things that are important to the arts community. So we are going to kind of have conversations internally as a team. We'll also work with the Office of the Arts. We have a few donors who might be interested in supporting something like this. So we want to have internal conversations about what has occurred today and kind of the idea, and then figure out kind of our strategy and plan for moving forward. I don't know if people in their notes talked about kind of timing, and
we said October actually, because we think if it goes much later, it runs into end of year giving.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that means we got a lot to work on, friends. Okay, so we will be in touch. Are there any questions that people have or other comments that they want to share before we sign off?
There is one thing with an online kind of performance that we have run into with ACS, is that we need to make sure that we have the rights to actually stream our performances, which is something that could be very expensive, which, you know, as I said, we've run into this problem. So that is just something to keep in mind. I don't know the numbers, but
it does matter when you're in music too. You want to pick music in the public domain. So that does give you lots of options, but it does rule some things out.
This is really helpful because these are things that we probably don't know. So yes, I think the goal would be that, you know, we would come up with something to help organizations curate what they need, or kind of give you all the guidelines in order to do that. But again, it would be really helpful to have representatives from this group or from others in the arts community to make sure that we have all voices represented. Okay, so I think that might be it. Heather, do you have any other parting comments?
No, just to thank everybody for making the time today and the space, and for going along with us on these exercises and the brainstorming. Really appreciate all the good energy and collective brain power that went into our discussion. So thank you.
Great. And we'll send out the slides. We can also send out a recording. We might have to do some editing. I'm looking at Leanne, who is our master at editing video, just so that you don't have those time periods or in your breakout conversation. So thank you all so much for your participation. And this is really exciting about what we could create together as a next step, and make sure that we can support you all, because we're so grateful for everything that you do. Okay. Have a good afternoon.
Bye. Thanks.